أعوذ من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وباركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. We have been addressing issues of misconception and sometimes deliberate misrepresentation of Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, a gigantic figure in Islamic theology, mysticism, and jurisprudence. Many people go to read him about in expectation of finding a philosopher. Actually, some of them get disappointed because they go looking for a philosopher and find someone who is not a philosopher, hence the disappointment. So we have in the past, in our previous videos, uh, expounded the intellectual environment in which he existed and operated, and also we have also shown that the contribution he made by exposing the objective of the philosophers and then the inconsistencies and set limits about what philosophy is and what it should attain. He did not condemn science, as they say. Some of them said that the Islamic civilization was so intellectually vast that without attack by Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, we could have proceeded to produce a science that would not allow the Western world to take over and develop a science that would lord over us. We have also made this clarification that the value of science in Western philosophy and understanding is different from the value of science as in Islamic intellectual life. We we have talked about desacralization of nature in Western philosophy and the sacredness of science studied as symbolism, as a sacred text leading to the realization of God and Tawheed in Islam. So these are not things that we should continue to uh, talk about one more and more and more. So now what we are going to talk about is the kind of science that was then studied. First of all, we had alchemy. Alchemy is different from the kind of chemistry we study today, though it also had to do with the study of substances, mixing substances, observing reactions and transformation of substances. But it was a kind of symbolic representation of the transformation of human soul, the transformation of the sacred world, and whatever you observe from the result of the transformation of substances, uh, you mix together and make react are also symbolic. So, if there is anything in technology that has come out of this science, it is a byproduct, it is a secondary product. The first product is spiritual because the spiritual aspect of the chemist is always tied, the spiritual aspect of the scientist is always tied to his work in the laboratory. So he is determined for spiritual purposes. So in this case, even today, the instruments or the apparatuses used in chemistry of today bear resemblance of the olden days, such as the conical flask, the round bottom flask, the tubed pipette, and stuff like that. All of them carry meanings in sacred geometry. So the purpose is spiritual. Then the science of uh, medicine. In medicine, yes, they practice medicine. Al Ghazali himself was a physician, but not a physician of the status of Ibn Sina, the status of Muhammad ibn Zakaria al Razi, uh, Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, Ibn Rushd, Ibn Tufail, all of them were great physicians. But the way medicine was practiced at the time, as we earlier said, it was a kind of medicine in which it was more of an art combined with science because we didn't have this specialization, demarcation of fields. So it was unity. So the art of medicine of that time was more of a relationship between the physician and the patient. So whatever the physician did was tied to the beliefs, hopes, fears, and emotions, values of the patient. So they work together in a spiritual manner to get rid of the illness. This was the kind of medicine that was practiced. Also, optics was practiced in order to observe the universe, especially celestial bodies, because um, there are many exhortations in the Quran that called upon people to look into the celestial bodies. Uh, يتفخرون في خلق السماوات والأرض. So we contemplate the creation of heavens and earth so that we see the signs of God in it, as it is said, سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. We shall show them our portents in the horizons, that is, in the universe completely, and within their own souls, until it becomes manifest unto them that it is the truth. That is also the basis of the science of astronomy, which also helps in navigation. But navigation in astronomy, as we say, is also a secondary fruit of science. It is not the raison d'etre. Uh, we have talked also of the science of medicine. Okay, let us see the kind of justice we should do to Abu Hamid al Ghazali that is not being done to him. Before Abu Hamid al Ghazali, there was Muhammad ibn Zakaria al Razi. He was an agnostic. He believes in spiritualism, but he did not believe in the authenticity of the message of Islam. He even wrote a book, The Tricks of Prophethood. So he was a very rude agnostic, but he was not cast out. So there were many scholars who were against philosophy. Even the entire school of Asharites, nobody was condemned as Abu Hamid al Ghazali. Okay, let's get into the Western philosophy itself. After the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, it was not a monolithic culture of rationalism and reductionism that has led to the sciences that we see today as uh, something that people even take to the level of worshipping. We had Descartes having his own understanding, Schopenhauer, Hegel, then we have Marx and Engels who came and inverted Hegelian dialectics to become dialectical materialism. All these were not, nobody was singularly accused of killing science in the West. So, since their actions, their differences, their pluralism, like David Hume, who did not believe in causality, like Immanuel Kant, who also, like Abu Hamid al Ghazali, accepted the five Aristotelian categories of existence, but also put a limit to reason, where faith takes over from reason, did not also destroy Western science. I see no reason why we should point out Imam Ghazali as someone who destroyed the culture of scientific investigation in the Muslim world. We have many examples: the Vienna School, the positivists, the empiricists, the idealists, all in the West. Some of them did not support the materialism. Some were poets, some were philosophers, and some were even scientists with pluralistic approach to the study of nature. So, two things are important here. Even if the intellectual pursuit of the Muslim world had continued, it wouldn't have led, except if there was a paradigm shift, it wouldn't have led into the kind of science that would produce intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear weapons, fighter bombers that we see today, and we accuse the Western world of using to dominate us. Again, if pluralism were to impede intellectual progress, it would have done so in the Western world. This is the message we want to pass, and I hope we have cleared enough the misconceptions about the great Imam. And if there are any questions, the comment box is open and we are ready to entertain them. We will also find time to address the personality of Imam Abu Hamid al Ghazali himself, to find out who he was, what he propagated, what he wrote. Thank you very much.